All right. Welcome everyone to episode 30.
Ooh,
Episode 30.
third decade.
We've done 30. We'll have done 30 of these, Mike.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's cool.
So hey there, Full Novel. Welcome.
Phenomenal. First one in.
Yeah, first.
Wow. Awesome.
So we finally got to the database stuff.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. And that was fairly straightforward. That's what happens when apparently one of us knows what they're doing, sort of. So any thoughts about anything before we jump into the code?
No, I don't think so. I didn't have anything
Okay.
anything
Right.
meta to talk about.
All right. Then
Let me move my thing off the screen.
Yep.
So you can share my desktop or monitor one.
All right. So last time we finished with the repository. Yes, we got the flyway in there. We got the database dependencies. We created our schema, and that was cool. Created our object, and down below there we have our repository, which turned out to be a much simpler expression than we thought.
Yeah.
In the end, thanks to our viewers for helping out with that. Hey, it's Benny. Hey, Benny. Welcome.
Hey, Benny.
Yeah, so that select was pretty cool.
That was sweet. I like that selector. Where's that rim shot sound effect?
Yeah, really. Sorry, I don't have that. I should get that at hand.
Have a what do they call it? Stream pad, or I forget the name of it, but the pad have just hit the button without hesitation.
I actually have a tool almost explicitly made for that kind of thing that I should get ready. So there's a whole bunch of on the Mac. There's a company called Rogue Amoeba that has a bunch of audio tools, audio routing tools, and one of them. So I use Loopback to basically route audio around, and there's another one that basically is like this big, thing with a bunch of buttons where each one is a sound effect or some kind of sound. So I'll set that up for next time.
You're like a morning radio show.
Yeah, exactly. So we created the sort of low-level technical repository, and we already had the rest of our code talking to the port. So now we need to wire those two things together. Let me actually
show that diagram again. You think?
I was just about to say, let me show that diagram.
Like mine.
So let me go and bring that up. And I should probably share the actual drawing thing with you, but for now we'll do this.
Sounds like a good idea.
So yeah, so what we've got is we have our ports and adapters are hexagonal. We already have all these tests. So we got domain layer tests that test directly against the domain. We have our use case layer or application layer test that test against the song service. And now the song service talks to the song repository. So this is our port. And our port interface is, by its nature, technology agnostic, cares not about what technology we use, whether we use the in-memory version that we've got, that we sort of refactored into from what we had before, or the real one, which is what we're going to hook up today. Out here, we basically have our database. Right, so this is our Postgres database, the real thing. Real as in an actual Postgres instance, not necessarily the production one, but it's a real database. And so in order to talk to that, we need some kind of Let me point that to that, and then make it like that. There we go. So this is the intermediary. This is our adapter. And so we have our port. We actually have sort of what I think of as sort of this slice here is sort of the technical connector. That's what we'll call this. And I'll make that smaller. So this is our technical connector. This is the thing that implements our Spring Data JDBC repository. And then we need something to take our song objects, our domain objects, and transform them into the things that get stored into the database. So that's what we're going to write today, is basically sort of the rest of this adapter.
Quick suggestion.
Yeah.
On the where it says real database Postgres, should we add the word adapter at the end of that?
I'm going to change that to say database adapter. Because really, actually, it doesn't know about anything about Postgres. It just knows Spring JDBC, Data JDBC.
Nice.
There.
I'm guessing the tool doesn't let you do words, rotate words on that.
I can, but I'm
thing.
not going to fiddle with that right now.
Yeah.
I should have rotated this differently, but that's the basic idea. Is that I always think of adapters having two parts. There's the thing that touches, that imports, that directly knows about the concrete library or framework module, whatever you want to call it. And then there's the part that's doing the transformation. And so we're going to be focused on that transformation part today. So, Full Alpha has a question. From time to time, I hear that Spring Data JPA is a bad practice because developers retrieve all the data without filtering. I don't think that's necessarily a problem. I mean, it's sort of not technically related to what ORM you're using. But there is sometimes a tendency to read everything into memory and then filter in memory when you could let the database do that. I don't think that's specific to JPA. I think JPA is overly complicated for many use cases that people use it for. Again, it's one of those, don't use something more complicated than you need. Don't just copy what other people are doing. Make sure you have a good reason for using a library, framework, technology, thing like that. So we're using in this project, like I use in many of my projects, Spring Data JDBC, which is a much simpler, smaller ORM that is, because it's less complicated, it means there's less going on and there's less ways to sort of go wrong. So I don't know that it's specific to Spring Data JPA as a bad practice, but I think if you're reading stuff into, like we could in our implementation, we could have just read in all the songs from the database and done the filtering like we did before in memory. But why read in stuff into memory that you're basically gonna then throw away? So, but good question. Hey, Jonas. No, not too late.
Oh, I think it means late start for us. We've been starting it.
Late stream. Oh, yes. I thought you were saying you were late. No, you're not late. But yes, this is a later than usual, at least for pairing stream. Yes.
Yeah.
Astrid, hey, yes, persistence. Yeah, definitely. I think there is a lack of, and I think it is very much related to using ORMs. And since Spring Data JPA is the most popular thing, then probably it seems connected that people do not understand SQL and relational databases and its benefits. Like we had, we figured it out and it wasn't terribly complex. With one query, we got exactly what we wanted. Now, granted, it's one table, but learn relational stuff, learn SQL, learn joins, learn indexes, learn that stuff because it will likely increase performance of your system. I know Mike is familiar with some performance aspects of database recently. 6 seconds? Why is this taking 6 seconds? Oh, we should index some columns.
Yeah.
Um,
I inherited this website that a friend of mine had built for his small company, and it worked fine on this one hosting company, and then they had that hosting company was going out of business, so it got moved to a new hosting company. And for some reason, when they moved over the database, they didn't move over the indexes. So I was like, why is this slow? It didn't used to be slow before. And debugging the query, and I'm like, this is a gnarly query. It was, but it turns out it was just the indexes.
yeah,
We went from 6 seconds, 6.5 seconds down to 0.3 seconds, I think,
yeah, yeah.
just by adding indexes. It was pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah, and normalization, like if you're going to use a relational database, then you want to normalize your data. You may not want to fully normalize everything, but you really want to be careful about that. I see a lot of people sort of, again, not being thoughtful about the database technology that they use and moving to NoSQL or document databases without understanding what they're giving up, what they're getting or what they're giving up. Because these days, especially, my default is give me a reason not to use Postgres. I mean, Postgres is awesome. You can throw documents in it. You can treat it if you need to. You can throw JSON in it and treat it as a document database. So for me, it's like, and you can throw on PG vector and do similarity searches, which is what Dan Vega and Deshaun Carter and some other Spring folks have been talking about on their streams. So it's like you got to give me a good reason not to use Postgres. And there are good reasons, but you have to really, really understand why. And yes, full knowledge, it is a bit confusing. There's Spring JDBC, which is a fairly low level interaction, and you got the JDBC template. It's not an ORM. It's a thin layer sort of on top of JDBC. Spring Data JDBC is part of the entire sort of Spring Data set of things. It's where you have Spring Data JDBC, which is what we use. Spring Data JPA, which is generally using Hibernate underneath. Spring Data NoSQL, Spring Data Mongo, Spring Data, et cetera, et cetera. So easy to get confused. I understand why they named it that way, but it is definitely confusing. All right, should we switch back to code?
Yes.
All right.
I've cleared the deck. So.
Yep, I can see that. All right, so we're working on Jira number 96.
Okay. We're going to work with concrete.
So let's run all our tests. Let's run all tests.
Sounds good.
And since we're running all, that'll take a number of seconds more than usual.
And I remember to bring up the Docker this time, so we don't have that same problem as last week.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. All looks good.
Except, right, we commented out a couple of tests, or disabled, sorry.
Yeah, let's take a look at that one. Right, so we commented these out because these are probably no longer relevant.
Wait a second. Why is it not have a disabled? Oh, we must have disabled.
We disabled the whole thing.
Class
Yeah.
level. Right. Okay.
Yeah, and so this is because we don't have test containers set up. So when you run tests, it won't run the Docker compose. And this is on purpose, and this often confuses people because out of the box, if you run the application, it'll run the Docker compose, and you have your database, and everything works fine. If you run the test, it's not going to run the Docker compose, and unless you have test containers set up, it won't run those either, and so therefore it'll fail to start because it won't have a connection to a database. Let's leave this disabled, but let's put in a comment. I'll add in.
You mean as in here?
Yeah, as in there. Ted to fill in workaround for this. So there's sort of a workaround. You can kind of import the application, so it will actually then start Docker Compose, but that would be a special case for this specific test.
Hmm.
But we'll do that offline.
Sounds
All
good.
right. So let's take a look at. Let's start with our port, right? So what we're going to want an implementation of our port, right? So when we do ports and adapters in hexagonal, our adapter, our outbound, or sometimes called driven or secondary adapter, has to implement the port. The port is the general way that our application wants to talk to, in this case, persistence. So let's look at our port, which is going to be inside of our application. Yep, there it is. Now, there's some interesting naming conventions that folks have used for this. I haven't been crazy about some of them, but there is some idea of saying this is really all about, you know, finding finding songs and saving songs. And so one could name it as literally the class as for finding and saving songs, because then it makes it clear what is this port for. Um, naming is of course hard, and there's always this tension between naming it something that is very descriptive, but is also very much not what people are used to. And so there's always this tension of like, well, I want it to be really descriptive and of a good name, but also I want people to understand what its role is. And so there's that tension here. So
What
because
was the name again? You had it was for
something like for saving and finding songs.
I'll do it this way. For saving and finding songs. And so that you couldn't get the best of both worlds by saying, because that just seems weird.
Yeah, that just seems weird. And there are some other naming conventions that that just change it to say, well, this is really a port, not a repository. I'm sort of fine with it being this. So what we want to do is, do we have any implementations of this?
I don't think so, given the name of the one method. Oh, I guess
We do, right? We have our in-memory one that we refactored. So we refactored out the in-memory one and then extracted out of that this port interface.
Got it. But now what's confusing?
Yes. So this is where the naming gets a bit confusing, because we're using the term repository in the domain-driven design sense of completely agnostic, don't care about the technology. It's just a collection of stuff. For better or for worse, Spring Data co-opted that name and used it for the technical implementation of how do we store stuff in a database. And I think it's unfortunate that they did that, but oh well. That, as they say, that horse has left the barn. Or
so one of them we can call song repository.
Yes, if we want, if we want to be pedantic. But because this is in the application port, I'm sort of okay with this. And Dota to Attitude brings up a great point. One of the things about that alternate name is it seems to indicate that maybe there are two classes or really interfaces. One is for finding songs, and one is for adding songs. And that's not a bad thought. That's actually really since most of the time, and especially certain types of users, will never be able to add. And so this is sort of the what's sometimes referred to as the interface segregation principle. Right. Make your interfaces really tiny, because just because you're finding stuff doesn't mean you're necessarily going to want to, that sort of same use case doesn't need the adding. In fact, those are really two separate use cases.
And we don't actually have add.
Well, we have add
Wow.
in the interface. The technical
Oh, here it is.
data implementation.
Can I do that?
Yes.
Okay.
So part of our adapter is adapting. Here's what our port wants to call it, right? Our ideal interface from the point of view of the rest of the application. And here's the technical thing that says save. So we're going to have to adapt from add to save, and that's part of the adapter's job. And yes, full mouthful, there is a flavor of CQRS. It's not quite full CQRS because we're using the same database for the read and write model. CQRS has separate read and write models, and that's the big difference between just having nice, tiny, well-targeted, cohesive interfaces from full-blown CQRS, where you actually have a model dedicated for writing and a model dedicated for reading. That's where you might use a document database. Yeah.
So if we were to break these into separate interfaces, this was the first thought, kind of riffing on the ending with repository theme, but kind of dealing with the find and save thing. Though I think people aren't used to seeing verbs as the first word in a class name. Like if we did the separate the interfaces kind of thing.
Yeah, I might if I were to go this way, to have it be a song adder and a song finder, and then drop a repository. So those, if we may decide that once we basically get to the UI, well, once we sort of get back to the application, we might want to take another look at, does the application layer, what's right now our song service, do we want to split that along the adding
add and find
and the finding? Yeah.
But for now, this interface is good enough, I presume.
Yeah.
What you're thinking, splitting it out now is a little bit early.
Yep. Song the aggregate. Yes, right now song is the only aggregate. Yep. Savior. All right, so what we want to do is we have an in-memory implementation. What we'd like is to create a Spring Data JDBC adapter. So let's go ahead and implement this interface. You can use a shortcut to do that.
Nope, the other shortcut. Oh, maybe not. I thought it was off a refactor.
It's not a refactor. I think it's an Alt-Enter.
Oh, Alt-Enter.
Quick fix. So yes. Implement interface, yeah.
Where do we want this to go?
Well, first of all, let's not call it song repository impl.
Oh, good Lord, no. Yeah.
You can actually change that default in IntelliJ. You can tell it to stop doing that. I have mine to set not to put impl at the end, to put default at the front, because at least that's a reasonable name.
Okay, let's go and do that change, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who would like to have that, to learn how to do that.
So if you go to, I think it's naming.
Naming? That's awfully big.
Maybe easier to find with suffix as the search.
Suffix. Where's that?
Just type suffix.
Oh.
And there it is.
Ah, here it is.
Yeah, so you can delete that, and then you can have it as a prefix. I
Default.
usually wear the default. Yeah.
Cool. You know what I'm going to do, don't you? Screen grab this.
Yeah. So there's some other interesting stuff around test names that maybe we'll get to. So Jeff Langer recently posted a little article about some different ideas for naming, and I've been thinking a lot about
Mm.
test names. So maybe we'll look at that if we have time.
Oh, cool.
I also realized that the book he published in 2006 was actually foundational for me in terms of TDD, because I was looking back at it, it's like, oh, this is where I learned that. So
Cool.
apparently he's publishing a new edition,
Oh, wow. That's great.
which is nice. Yeah. All right. So let's go implement this.
You want to stick with that name, or
No. So what we're going to want is the way I generally name it is since it's an adapter for a specific technology, I basically I would call it something like song JDBC adapter.
and would it go in the port package? I guess it
No,
would.
it's an adapter, so where would it go?
There is outside. Oh, so it'd go up here, and
Yep.
adapter out JDBC.
Right.
Yeah, that would be JDBC. Okay, so let's get this one. And that's not the test section. Good.
Yep. Yep. Very funny, Astrid. Yes, all implementations should be service manager impl as the suffix. All right, so what we want to do is we want to drive this through tests. Now there are a couple of ways we could do this. One way is we could write tests directly against this new adapter. The other way is drive it through our application layer. So why don't we open up our song service on the top, so we have both.
Oh. Oh, I should have done classes. Oh.
So let's go down to some of the methods that actually do stuff. So we've got adds, which is basically two of them, right? We've got add song and we've got import songs. And import is just a sort of a more general add. So let's scroll up a bit to bring the other method into view. Yeah. So we pretty much have two very methods that look very much like what are in the adapter. So what we can do, I think instead of testing, so if we sort of go back to the diagram, I'm going to switch over to my diagram again. So we have a choice in how we test this adapter here. All right, so this adapter we can test directly. We can write tests directly against it. Say add song is the song in there, and add some songs, and then can we find them by their themes? The other way is, again, we use these use case layer tests to test against the song service. But instead of using the in-memory fake adapter, we actually plug in the real adapter. And so it should work, right? Once we get this stuff to work, it should just work.
Now at that point,
Yeah.
That's going all the way out to a real Postgres database.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So if we do that, then let me do this. Yeah, I'll make that green. So we can do that. The upside is we don't have to write any other tests, and it should just, assuming we implement this stuff correctly inside the adapter, it should work. The downside is we kind of have to do a bit more setup in our test, but not a lot.
Yep. Okay. It also seems like a big step, but maybe it's not.
Well, we can do it and see how it feels, and if we feel
Right.
like it's actually
gotta
too
roll
big of a
back.
step, then we can go back.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So I'll put you back.
Okay, clear.
So let's look at the song service test at the top.
Oh, it's already open. Oh, is it? There isn't one on the top. Song service test? Oh, you want me to open it? Got it.
Yes. I was about to say you're doing the thing that computers are good at of looking for stuff.
When you said on the top, it implied there was already up there. That's why I was.
Oh, I would never imply go search for an open tab.
Yeah. Okay. No. Gotcha. What are we opening? It? Song service test. This one.
Yeah. So you could have done Alt Shift T, or
Yeah.
sorry, Control Shift T.
Oh, true. True.
You have an accidental breakpoint on something that's not breakpointable.
No.
So
It's a variant on accidental complexity.
So let's get a high level view of the tests here. There probably aren't that many. Yeah. So we've got added songs are saved, bulk add using TSV, malformed, multiple songs are found by the theme, save songs loaded on startup. So what we need to do is we need to figure out how to plug in different implementations of the of our repository port.
Makito, right? Sorry.
Yes, absolutely. So how do we do that? So I see how we do that in the first test using create null. How do we do that in the next test? Aha. So there we basically create the in-memory song repository directly.
We could do the same thing for the. Or is there going to be some complexity regarding?
Well, we'd like to do that for all of these tests. What does create null actually do now? Does it internally create the in-memory? I mean, it must. Yeah. Okay. So I think we actually want to inline that because in our tests, because we're always going to want to pass in an in-memory repository.
Yeah, I was just seeing what the other ones look like.
Yeah, it looks like all the other ones are using.
And this one's using create. Oh, this is using create empty, which is basically
but that's
the
not the one
inline version.
Yeah.
Right. It's this one we want to inline.
Yeah.
Remove or inline all?
No, it's got 5 occurrences. We only want to inline this one.
Okay.
And then let's extract the repository to a variable. So what we're going to do is we're going to parameterize this test.
So it'd be introduce variable.
Yeah.
my brain was thinking extract. So we want.
Well, I call it extract. IntelliJ, I think, calls it introduce.
So we want just not the create empty part, or do you want the whole thing, including create empty?
No, what do you have selected is right.
Okay.
Yeah. And you can just call it repository or song repository, actually.
There we go.
I don't know why. I guess I understand why they call it introduce variable, but I call it extract variable because that's actually I don't know what Fowler calls it. There's inconsistencies between what Fowler calls it and what IntelliJ calls it. So before we can parameterize the test, I think what we want to do is do this one by one.
So maybe clone this test, do it with the other one, and then parameterize, roll it back in as parameterized. Or you think just starting by parameterizing and that might be sufficient?
I think I want to parameterize it and then have another. So parameterize it and then actually have another test class. So because what we want is we still want this class that is IO free, that uses the in-memory. The new one we're going to create is going to need to have annotations for the test container database stuff, and we don't want to sort of combine the two. So what we want to end up with is sort of two tests that do the setup. One just instantiates the in-memory version. The other one does all the setup for Spring, and then calls these tests as test methods.
So it won't be using the parameterized.
We won't actually be using the parameterized test annotation. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, now I know where you're going.
Yeah. Fowler does say extract variable. Yeah. For us, we're basically creating the adapter to be able to. So last time we created the database storage, the ORM level, and now we're connecting it to the rest of the application. And hello, Sweetie. So trying to think. So the other way to do this is to have a base class, to have the tests here as the base class. And then the subclasses provide the repository. So that's another way to do this.
Oh, interesting. So make him like an abstract base class?
Yeah, so this would become an abstract base class, and there would be the abstract method of provide the repository provider. Would that work?
Can you and you can tag them each separately? One is tagged as
well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Is
could you
do that? So yeah, so Luigi asks, is that what we're doing? It's like, yes, that's exactly what we're doing.
And we want them to be tagged slow and fast, effectively, basically IO free.
Right. Yeah. So let's go that way, because the other way I've done it is more of a sort of composition delegation. But this. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like some other ways that you can use JUnit's parameterization. There's some more, let's say, sophisticated ways of doing parameterization. but I don't think any of them allow us to tag them differently, which is really what we want, right? Because we want the
based
one
on
that uses the
parameter.
in-memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, because parameterization, it's going to be run under the sort of the same thing. So, yeah. So let's try this and see how it goes.
Okay.
So what we want to end up with is this is our base class. So let's extract out the repository creation to a method so that all of these tests call the method that creates a song repository.
So almost undoing what I did, but now it being more generic. See, this one calls create passing a song list. This one's calling create empty.
So I think the ones that are passing a song list, we're going to have to do differently.
Okay. We've got 2
Um,
empty, 3 empty. 3 empty, 2 a song list.
So let's fix the ones that pass in a song list, because that's not really part of the repository's interface. I think that should also be empty, and it should just add it directly through the repository instead of passing in a list.
Oh.
So let's make those change. I mean, it's a fairly minor change. Let's make those changes.
Okay. So let's start with the first one.
Well, the first one's create empty, so that's fine.
I
What
meant
we
the
want
first one with a song
yeah,
list,
yeah.
which is this one. So you're saying create with null instead.
Right.
I guess what are the terminology using? Create empty. So that would be basically change this to create empty.
Right.
Actually, I didn't need to do that. Add.
Yep.
Nope. The other add.
Yeah. So what I would have done is cut line 32, pasted it, and changed song list to song repository. And then you can get rid of that, and then you can get rid of the unused array or the unused list. Yep.
1 second, I gotta sneeze.
Yeah, there's already repository already has a method to add, so we don't need to sort of encapsulate that. I mean, we still might encapsulate that as our setup, but we didn't have to. We'll see if we need to do that.
I'm back.
Yep. So let's do the same thing for the other one.
Yeah. I wonder what if this will grab. Will that go to the? Nope, went too far.
Let's run our IO free tests to see that we haven't broken anything. We shouldn't have, but
We did change
those shouldn't and those didn't.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, looking good.
Is that it?
I thought there was, there was 2, and then the other 3 were just using straight up empty.
All right. So let's do a commit so we can commit that change. Let's not commit the adapter though, because we haven't done anything with that yet.
What did we do the repository? We changed. Oh, right.
I think you just added some white space.
Yeah, nothing useful. We do here. Oh, we added the disabled element.
So the only thing significant is literally what we just did was add the songs to the repository or through the repository interface. So Frustern asks a question, and I'm going to say, it depends.
Or what is the goal?
Yeah.
Like
What do you want? What do you want to learn? What do you already know? You're going to have to provide a lot more context, because that's like saying, I want to learn how to write, which is
a slightly broad topic.
not specific enough to answer. And by the way, this kind of question is really awesome to ask in the Discord, because you'll get answers from multiple people and not just us. But happy to answer it, but you're going to need to narrow down your scope a bit. All right, so let's now factor out the create empty into an actual method in this test.
Get empty.
Well, of course. Actually, before we do that, I think it might be easier if we change the declaration of all these repository variables to be the more generic interface.
Right, which I already forgot the name of that one.
It's just without the in memory.
Ah. Just go change all of them, I presume. Well, actually, that one is using.
Yeah, because that one we extracted, so it's using that one. That one is not.
So it should just be two of them. Nope, that one's using.
Hold on.
Hmm?
You whipped right past the fact that we just broke something.
Okay, back.
So apparently our in memory has an all songs method, which is fine. But we need to use the one that's actually defined, that we want to explicitly define. So let's go to that method, that implementation. Let's move that up to the interface as well. Although we don't, do we want it as a stream? Sure, let's keep it as a stream.
So move this to, or move, move it
so,
to the base, or
well, you want to extract it to the superclass. So if you do a refactor this on it, no, it's
the other.
Yeah. So we want to pull members up. And that's the one we want, and that's where we want to move it to. Yep. That's fine. It's basically saying if you're going to pull it up to the interface, you have this other implementation that's going to need to implement it. That's totally fine, since we haven't really implemented it yet anyway. So let's just go to the song JDBC adapter. Did it add it for us, or is it going to make us do it?
It's weird, but it.
No, the song JDBC adapter, the one that was complaining about.
This one.
Yeah. So let's just fix that. So quick fix there, implement method. That's fine. We can stream empty, and we can leave that there. That's fine. So let's go back and continue replacing. This is why it's good to replace all of our in-memory definitions with the declarations with the interface.
Yeah, and a little bit slower. Okay, that one looks like. Let's run the test. Okay, good.
Yep.
Now this one. Oh, it compiles. Oh, what did you say?
No, I'm just Imagine redeemed a hydrate, so I'm going to go hydrate.
Oh, nice. Oh, that reminds me, I forgot my water bottle. I'll get it at the next break. Okay, And was that the last one? That one's using song repository already.
All right. Do the test pass?
I'm pretty sure they did, but I'm gonna run them again because they're fast.
Let's do a commit. So welcome. Is it IMAS or IMAS? Is it a short I or a long I? But welcome. So Jen asked, when testing using real database, do I empty the tables between each test class? No, not generally. If I'm concerned, I might do a repository like delete all. You can, if you're using test containers, you can have it restart the container. And so I'll do that for some applications. I'll do that. So basically, it's not emptying the tables; it's completely restarting the database from scratch, which is surprisingly fast. I was surprised when I set that. So you can set that control. So because you can either set it, and I think it even does that by default for test containers. You have to do a little bit of extra configuration so that it could reuse the containers. But I think that's and it does run stuff in a transaction. So it should be rolling back. Yeah, so it should be rolling back anyway. But if you're doing stuff that maybe is already doing transactions, I guess what I'm saying is I've not run into the issue where I've had tests fail because there's bad data in the database. Usually the tests are fairly isolated. Yeah.
Do you think? I'm curious where it says using real databases. Do you think that might be meaning production? Like if they're running against production?
Well, Jonathan, I assume when you say real database, you mean an actual database instance running on your machine, not production, right?
Yeah.
But are you using test containers or not? I think is really the question
The
I
core
would have.
question. Yeah.
And if you're not using test containers, use test containers. All right. Now let's extract the the creation of the repository into a method.
So all of this.
Yep.
Create song repository?
It's not necessarily a create. I would just name it song repository. I mean, it's basically a get, but
I'm so used to
I'm
verbs.
a little allergic.
Method names.
I'm a little allergic to get.
Oh, I'm with you with get. I don't disagree with that. I'm just so used to verbs starting
Yeah,
method names,
but it's not.
it's just a habit. Doesn't mean
yeah,
I just like
yeah. I think that's fine.
Okay.
And yeah, let's replace all. So that should have replaced all, like literally all. There should be no other usages of in memory anywhere.
Oh, this one. Oh, that's the.
Well, that's the one we just extracted.
Yeah.
So do a search, and there should only be one.
Yep, only one.
Okay, great.
No, I just did within this. Well, it's within anyway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you want that kind of search?
No, I wanted the search in the file, but
file.
not within the selection. So do search again. Okay.
Yeah, I can turn the case off, but basically it's.
I wasn't worried about the case, but if you select something and then do a search, depending on what's happening, you may be only searching within that selection.
Oh.
I didn't think that's what it was doing, but
Want to be sure.
I wanted to be sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's.
This is a new feature.
Which what?
Okay, so I'm going to scroll up. So
the sticky lines. Yes.
Between 16 and 18.
Yeah, the sticky lines are new in 2024.
That's interesting. So it's to give you, so it's when you have a long method, which you shouldn't have. You'll then be able to
yes,
know your context,
correct,
even though
yeah.
it's out of view. That's kind of cool. Yeah.
So Astrid is asking what I was going to ask you to do is inline. I don't know why IntelliJ doesn't do this by default. So inline that. And now let's we want to create, we actually want to push this member down.
Right. Well, we don't have it down yet to go to. We don't have a target.
Well, we can create a down. So if we do a refactor this on the method, it may not be available here.
You have to go for the menu.
You might have to go through the refactor, push members down. And that's the one we want. And we want to keep it abstract because we want to push down the current behavior into a specialized subclass. So check the under keep abstract in the table.
Keep abstract in the table.
So there's the table. The table header has member and keep abstract.
Ah, there it is. Okay, got it.
And then hit refactor.
I'm looking over here.
That's not a table.
That's why I was confused. I was like, where is it?
Refactor. Would you like to create a new subclass? Yes. And default is at least a better name than impl. But we'd like this to be the in-memory song service test. It's so funny. It's like I so rarely deal with subclasses that I'm like, it's somewhere. I just don't remember where. Okay, so that did exactly what we wanted it to do. Let's go back to the song service test. Control E will get you back there quickly.
Yeah.
And then just enter. So now that's abstract. So that's great. Now if we can't run this test because this is now abstract, this class. So if we go into the in-memory song service test,
does it run everything?
Does it run everything? Yeah.
Just run this class, I presume.
Yes. Yeah.
Let's see what it does. Ooh.
Hit the check mark above. Yeah. So yeah, so it ran all the tests. Great.
Cool.
Yeah, so inheritance in JUnit is not something I often deal with. And in fact, in 5.11, so folks, if you use JUnit and you have anything around inheritance in your tests, right? If you've got subclasses of tests and you're using JUnit, go and test the milestone release of 5.11 because stuff changed. JUnit had its own sort of way of inheriting stuff, and now they're abiding by sort of more standard Java ways of doing things. So go try it out and give them feedback. Otherwise, when it gets released and it doesn't work, you could have headed that off at the pass, as it were. Okay, great. So let's run the IO free test just to make sure that everything is still passing.
Whoops, damn it. When I clicked it, it moved the, because IO free was less words, this drop down got smaller as I was pressing. At that point, this was over here. That's why I should use keyboard shortcuts instead of...
That's another reason to use keyboard shortcuts. Yes.
Exactly. I'm here to help with that. Proselytizing.
SonarLin complaining about inheritance hierarchy exceeds limit of 7. Oh dear God. I think 3 should be the limit. I am so sorry.
7.
My condolences.
Yes.
Okay.
Prayers.
It's funny. It's like, why are those pink, red, squiggly stuff in the gutter? It's like you must have accidentally run it with code coverage.
Yeah, that's what accidentally run code coverage thing.
All right, so let's do a commit. and basically extracted in-memory specific version of our song service test. And by the way, Froster and I have not forgotten about your question. I thought I'd handle it during our upcoming break, which is actually coming soon, or now.
I have to say hi to someone too, unless you did it and I missed it.
I did it and you missed it.
Almost when I was coughing.
Should we take our break now?
Sure.
Well, it's either that or we could create the JDBC specific subclass.
I want to get my water, so let's.
All right,
let's
so let's take our break.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll take our coffee break, and then when we come back, we'll start implementing the JDBC Spring Data JDBC version that will help us drive that implementation. So see you soon. All right. So just wanted to address basically I put together that coffee break video yesterday because I was like, oh, I want something fun, more fun. So I realized I wanted to add also a timer in the lower right, and I forgot to add that. So I'll be adding that, and I'll turn down
I
the
do
volume
now
just a
want
bit.
coffee now for some unknown reason.
So Froster was asking about a programming book, and so now got some more details. So what I would suggest is, and I think I've mentioned this before. I know I've mentioned it before. I'm not sure if I mentioned it to you. Um, Kai Horstman, not Horstman. I always get sometimes the S and the T swapped. Horstman. He's been around for a while, writing books. So Kai Horstman, I'll provide a link for the book. The book that I think is actually the most useful for, and actually I'll just share my screen. And let me hide the comment now. Core Java for the Impatient. What I like about this book, it's been updated through Java 17. I'm hoping he'll update it through 21, but even so, even updating through 17 is great. And what I like about it is it's not everything. It doesn't try to be super complete because he's got other books for that. He's got the Core Java Volume 1 and Volume 2 if you want like real completeness. But this one has, like he says, it's got no desktop UI because, for better or for worse, I think for worse, but I am in the minority in this world. No desktop UI stuff. It's not going to give you the basics of variables and loops and stuff. It assumes you know that stuff. What it does is it gives you kind of the core stuff you need. And as I've mentioned, probably every single stream I've ever done, you need a project of your own to work on. What you want is something that is going to be used by someone where you can get feedback within a day or two. What you don't want is to build something for like a friend who you only talk to once every couple of weeks, or something for a relative that you talk to once a month. What you want is something where you're going to get feedback on how useful this app that you're going to build is, so that you can then take that feedback and then implement whatever it is that's missing or it needs to be changed or needs to be added to. That is a must. You're not going to learn by reading a book, right? Learn in terms of being able to write code. The way you learn how to write code is you write code. The way you learn how to write code and get good at it is you write code. A book like this is a great reference and a great thing to like make you aware of the things that are available. That's important because you can't write code if you're not aware of how to use streams, right? So you want to know how to use streams. You're not going to be able to write code that reads from files if you don't know how the file API works. So reading a book like this and skimming through it and getting an idea of what's available in the language is useful, but you have to come up with an idea that is your own. You can take tiny trivial apps that come with some tutorials that you may find, but what you want is an app that's your own. So I'm not sure what you're looking at in terms of attendance management system. Is this something you care about? Is this something that somebody's going to use? Because if you don't care about it and you don't have anybody using it, don't do it. Do an app that is personally meaningful to you or someone close to you who will provide some value. And it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter how important it is. It's just something that you will use. And maybe it's you just, you want a to-do list that's specific to your way of doing things. Maybe you already use a to-do list, but create another one. But create one that is not just here's a bunch of to-dos, Do things where it schedule things, do things where it prioritizes things, do things where it, things, you want to group certain types of activities together. Um, a board game app that keeps track of which board games you like and your ratings of them. I mean, be a one of the and so coming up with a project can be very difficult. What I find helps is being aware throughout your day in your life and a week in your life, what things annoy you or what things like, oh, it'd be cool if that app existed. Or maybe there is an app, but it kind of sucks. Create one. Start out small, but again, the ultimate thing that's important is that it's meaningful to you, that you are interested in. I can't. I could imagine things that are more boring than an attendance management system, but not easily. Um, Although, when my mom was a school teacher, that might have been interesting because then I could get feedback from her. But again, find something that's interesting and useful. It doesn't have to be terribly useful. It's not like something that's going to change your life. Just something that's like, tracks your gym workouts, tracks your whatever it is, something that, it's a hobby in your life, it's something else. Um, Pick that project, start small. The hardest part, and this is something you won't get from books. I don't know how, and so I coach a bunch of folks, and this is actually the hardest part: is taking that first step. What do I do first? Yeah, so start out small. Like, what is the really paring it down into really what is the smallest thing that might be useful? And again, useful in a sense of it does something. Um, and that can be difficult. That's probably, to be honest, is the hardest part, especially when you're starting out or when you're not an experienced developer. Heck, as an experienced developer, sometimes I find that really hard. And so I coach a lot of developers who are you'd probably consider junior or novices, and this is the hardest part: is what is that first essence, the first thing that I can say, oh look, I have something. And then breaking it down into pieces that you can get that you can get feedback on, whether it's feedback from yourself or feedback from somebody else who you're providing it for.
So you mean like a website that searches songs by theme,
Yeah,
something
like
like
that.
that?
Yeah. And what you want to err, and I'll reiterate, like, err on the side of making it too small rather than too big. It's amazing, like, we're in episode 30, and this app that we're working on doesn't sound that complicated. But you dig into it and you start implementing it, it's like there's a lot there. There's a lot of, and it's not like we code 100% of the time. There's a lot of thinking that's involved. And that's just as important as any coding you're going to do. That website could have been a spreadsheet. Funny that. But that is another source for ideas. If you have like spreadsheets that you keep track of things, whatever those things might be, um, make an app to keep track of it instead. Not saying it's necessarily better, but it's something that that you know about. Like, my son was saying, "Hey, what board games do we have?" And I'm like, "I have no idea. They're scattered all over the place. Maybe we should have an app that keeps track of them." And then you can do things like, okay, this board game has, every time we play it, it takes an hour and a half. So maybe that's not good for like a short casual thing. Or this one is really difficult. Like, again, all these things you have to pull them from your life, which means you have to start being a little bit aware of the things that in your day, in your week, are like, where it's like, oh, I wish I could had an app for that. Yeah, if you don't have anyone who's gonna use the thing you're gonna create, do not do it. Again, the number one absolute most important thing is that you or someone close to you will use it and give you feedback. Because if you don't use it, you won't get feedback. And if it's not used and you don't get feedback, it will be you're not gonna work on it. Because who wants to work on an app that nobody uses and that is uninteresting to you? Uh, I can't imagine anything more boring than working on an app that nobody wants and that I don't care about. Like, what's the fun in that? Like, because part of this is it has to be at least enjoyable in some sense of the word. And don't be afraid about sort of copying apps, right? Re-implementing apps for your own purposes is great if you're struggling coming up with something. Yeah, track books. Yeah, if you've got a lot of books, like also don't do something where the administration of it is difficult. Um, but it may be something where it's like, hey, from now on, I want to keep track of books that I read and some notes on them. Great. In other words, if it could have been a spreadsheet or a document, maybe make it into an app. Lots of apps are really glorified spreadsheets in some sense. All right. So we've got our in-memory subclass of this test, and it runs fast. Now it's time to make a database-specific version of it. So if we go to our other database test, the one that was testing, yes, that one. Let's grab sort of the setup stuff. So all the annotations, yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, you may as well copy all of that. Yeah, that's fine.
Good enough at that point.
Yeah. And then let's create another subclass of what's now our abstract song service test. And we might want to rename our song service test. How would we name it to be song service test base or something?
Yeah.
Something to indicate that it's like it is the base class for our tests.
Right.
That's gonna
I presume no, we don't want to
what is
rename
it? What is it renaming?
It wants to call this in-memory service.
No, we don't want to do that. Yeah.
That's my take of it, at least. Right, here it is. Yeah.
Yeah. No, we don't want it to do that.
Yeah, skip.
So now let's create another subclass.
Can you do that off of here?
Yeah, quick fix. No, quick fix. You had it.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, but you got to look down a bit.
Oh, farther down. Implement abstract class.
Yep. That's a fun name. Default song service test base.
What are we going to call it? JDBC?
Sure.
That it?
Well, let's put it in the right package.
Picky. No, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's correct.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Interesting.
Let's make it tell it to fix whatever it is, because I think it was not a public class.
Oh.
Yeah. Because normally when you create JUnit tests, it doesn't have to be public, but since we're in a different package and we're extending it, it has to be public. All right, so why don't you paste the stuff and clean it up?
Well, that made a mess of things. Not too bad.
I've seen worse.
Is that everything?
Well, the stuff you cut, you need to now paste into line 20.
Right.
Yep.
Thank goodness I did a cut.
So that looks good. And now line 30 should be easy to implement. No, actually, it won't be easy to implement. Sorry, I forgot that we're not returning the JDBC repository, we're returning a song repository. So what we want to do is so now we're sort of in test drive mode. So we're switching gears into, we are now test driving the implementation of our song JDBC adapter. So the adapter sits between our port and the concrete song JDBC repository. So we've got the thing that's talking to the database directly, that's being auto-wired in. What we needed to supply is an implementation of the port. The thing that does that is the adapter. So let's instantiate our song JDBC adapter. Now, clearly this won't work, but that's fine. We will expect tests to fail. So let's run this test class and see what happens. So the way we expect this to fail is it doesn't have any connection to the actual database. So it's funny that the failure mode test worked fine. But everything else failed.
That's weird and concerning.
Can we take a look at what that's expecting? So what did it expect?
It expects a failure.
Oh, okay, that's fine. Because when we call import songs doesn't do anything.
So it's failing, but for a different reason.
It is underneath. It's failing for some. So what does our current JDBC adapter do for add? It just ignores it, right?
JDBC adapter for add.
Yeah, so it just ignores it. So when we do import, it tries to import it. Because it never even tried to save them because they were malformed. So it fails even before it tries to do the save.
Right. But I think if we wanted, because technically we do want this to fail, so we probably should have ratcheted up this failure method.
Well, let's do that.
Assert.
So let's be more precise, that it's not just that it's a failure, but we want a specific kind of failure message. So what are our failure messages?
Want to find out?
Let's find out that.
Do a characterization test.
Yeah, so let's say contains. Well, we have to assert something here.
Oh.
So let's say just.
That's wrong. It would be.
No, it would be failure messages. We then have to continue.
Contains.
Let's say is not empty.
Oh, it's not empty. Really? Well, we'll find out, right?
We'll find out. I don't know what. It may still be okay. Yeah, we may have to be more. We may have to be more precise than that.
Oh, wait a second. It's actually saying what it's saying here. Scroll down.
Well, that one's the one that actually failed.
Oh, sorry, this one. Right, yeah. It's not going to say anything.
So let's say failure messages. So let's say, yeah. So let's say it contains exactly, and then like an empty string. And this will be our characterization. Actually, we should probably have run it from. We should have run it from the IO-free version of it to see what it actually produces.
Oh. Do you want to?
Yeah, so let's do that. Let's go back to the in-memory song service test, and let's run that. I guess we could have just run the IO-free, but that's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So now do the same thing on this one. Oh, wait a second. Oh, it's the.
Well, the thing is there's not going to be any observable difference whether we're writing to in-memory or whether we're writing to the database, because we never write anywhere. So there's no way we can ratchet up this test in a way that's going to differentiate between the two scenarios. So,
Oh, I wasn't thinking about differentiating between the two scenarios. I was thinking that this test over in the JDBC version should have failed because
why should it have failed?
let me rerun it. So it was this one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, you'd have to change the test back if you want it to pass again.
Oh, right. Oh, wait a second. No, it'll still fail. Oh, pass. Right.
You were saying it incorrectly passed, and I'm saying there's no difference between whether we're using a database or not because it's doing validation. It's failing on validation. So it doesn't even try to save it.
Right.
So
okay. Let's undo that.
So I think we can just leave it, and it's passing, and that's fine because that's not testing any kind of save capability. Yeah, because it's basically a validation thing.
Right. But I think there's something I need to revert. I think.
Yeah. So go into the song service test.
This one. Yeah.
You can close the window.
Yeah.
Song service test. Base, right?
Base.
And then just click on the gutter there. And then revert. Yep. So let's run the song JDBC, the JDBC version of that test.
That's this one, right?
No. Yes.
Oh, wait a second.
No, sorry, no. It's that one. Yes. This is why I don't. I try to. I actually limit the number of editor tabs I have open to like 4, because otherwise it's very easy to start scanning through and looking for them, and get confused.
I'm just gonna close everything, and as we need it, we'll open it up.
All right. So this fails. Otherwise, this fails as expected. So let's do a commit this.
What do I want to say?
And now we can commit the song JDBC adapter because that's now being used by our new test. So just starting point for TDDing song JDBC adapter. Yep. All right, so let's so let's open up our adapter class. And so which test do we want to tackle first? I'm not sure what the difference between those last two are. There's added songs are saved, and then saved songs loaded on startup. I feel like the way things are currently structured, they're the same. The second one uses all songs. I don't feel like both those tests are necessary.
And where's the startup? The startup's kind of gone on the test on 33.
Yeah, so because we changed sort of the structure of our song searcher, these tests don't make as much sense.
Yeah. Both of them,
Um,
or just
well, so the first one is searching by theme to see if what we added was found, but that's no longer what the test method says. The second one is definitely verifying the simplest case of if we asked for all the songs, did we find the songs that we saved? Do we have a test for uh, multiple songs are found by their theme? So we don't really need that first test there, the save songs loaded on startup. I actually think we can get rid of it because we have a test that searches by theme. This one just happens to be it finds one song as opposed to multiple.
does that work? Yeah. And what do you think about the second one? You think we still need that one?
So now this one is the one we want to start with. Is like if we add a song, is it saved to the repository? But I think we should. This is really adding a song to a repository that already has songs in it, and so this is not simple enough for us.
Not simple enough. So we should see if there's another one simpler.
No, there is no simpler one. So we have
Ah.
to make this. This is sort of the many. We don't have the one.
Ah. So you're thinking something along this lines. This line.
Essentially, although I'd say song is yeah, that's fine. I was going to
Are you
suggest
gonna say
something else.
like save single song to repository?
No, I was going to do something else, but it turns out not to be any better. So, yep. Not avoid.
Yeah, no. I don't know what keystroke I hit to do that, but
yeah, I did want something. Suji suggests this. I did want something about empty repository.
that's good. Yeah.
So let's do that. So I don't think we have to say single song. I think we can say add song.
Something like that. Or what were you
well, it's not is saved. I think what we're saying is that
maybe if we write the assert, the name will be.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. The assert is basically going to be, is it in there? So is found. Let's go with that. We can change it after we write the test.
Okay.
So let's
I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, except we don't want the add there. We'll want to move that after. We'll actually want to, yeah, and then we can copy what you have on 47.
On 47.
Because we want to add it via the song service, not directly to the repository.
Right.
And then we can assert on the
Do we?
what? So what do you want to do?
Oh, you were. Sorry, I was pausing because you paused mid sentence.
Oh,
You were gonna say assert on, and then you paused.
yeah. So because I wanted to let you do it.
Oh, can we ask the song service?
So we could, except the song service doesn't. I mean, we could do it that way.
We could do all songs. Oh, we don't have.
Except song service doesn't expose that.
Right.
So what we're looking at is in a sense what might be called a side effect.
So maybe
All right,
query
Astrid,
against the
have a good night. And yes, feel free to, if anything goes wrong, blame Ted. You could also blame chat, but it might be more believable if you blame me. There's a joke about always blame chat. All right. Okay. So yeah. So do we want to test the side effect, or do we want to test the direct effect?
When you say side effect, meaning which, like asking the repository?
Yeah. So we can ask the repository, give me all your songs, and there should be one in there. Well, yeah. Which leads us to say, how do we know that there are any songs in there? So I would say we're missing the zero test. So let's disable this test, and let's write our zero case test, which is basically new repository has no songs. In a sense, this is not quite deserving to be here, but we might want to move this somewhere else. But for now, it's what we've got.
That's what you're thinking.
What is all songs returns a stream, so we can say is empty.
Run the whole kit and caboodle, or just this one?
Well, so this is so we can't test from here. We need to test from the JDBC song service test.
Oh, this is going to fail.
Well, it's not going to work at all because it won't have a song repository.
So copy or cut this and move it over to
Well, no, we're in the base class. We need to be running from the subclass.
Right. So isn't this the subclass JDBC?
Yeah, and so we just want to run that.
Oh, run that. Oh, I was thinking we cut it over. Is that code applicable to both? Yes, it is. Okay.
It should be.
Got it. Now I know what you're thinking.
Okay, so
Okay.
that works because we're basically returning an empty stream. So that's fine. Yeah, I don't know what happens if we try to. What happens if we try to run that test right here? It's in an abstract class. Does it even let us? Ah, interesting. That's actually good. So we can run one test at a time because it says basically which one do you want to run. So
Right.
pick that one. Yeah, pick the JDBC one. So does that just run the single test but using the subclass?
Looks like it. We'll find out.
That's handy. Yeah, that is handy. That is nice. Yes, it is nice.
So now do it again.
And yeah, we'll probably rename that Sweetgy. Probably want to talk about that as well. All right, so we've got our zero case.
We
So
want to run it against the other one too.
We could just, sure, why not?
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So let's go back to the next test, undisable it. And I agree that is found is implying that it's found through the song service. Do we want to test it just that it's saved? Perhaps that's actually what we want to do. So my suggestion was wrong. Is saved is what we want. So let's run this one through the let's run it first through the in-memory, because that one should always work. Okay, and now we can run it through the JDBC, which should not work because it'll end up with 0. Because we're always returning an empty. A long way to get to a 0 instead of a 1. Yep. All right. Now we can finally, that we have a failing test and failing for the right reason, as predicted, we can now write some code.
And the failing test was, I should check it again. It was the add song.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so it's a little confusing because there's a little green arrow on this test, which really there shouldn't be because it failed, right?
This one?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Did it do it to the base class?
Because I think we ran. Can we run it again?
Sure.
Run it. No. Run it from the base, but select the JDBC one.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay. We may have done the in-memory.
I think we might have done the in-memory second. That's why. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
Ooh.
I think that's a bug.
Yeah.
I think that's a bug. Because if it's going to show, actually, there's no indicator at all. It's just the run button. Huh. Okay, that makes sense. Right? There's actually no indicator of there's no check mark, and so therefore it's as if it hasn't run it at all, which I guess is not technically correct, but I wouldn't consider it a bug. At least it's not misleading. All right, let's move on. So let's for all songs, let's actually, what we should have done before, and we'll do it now, is we need to test the 0 case, but actually hitting the real JDBC. So let's go back to our JDBC song service test. And let's pass in a reference to the JDBC repository into the adapter. And you can quick fix that. Yep, create the constructor. And quick fix that so it can create a field for it. Yep. And then for all songs, let's call that repository. Find all. And we're going to need to map the song DBO to a song. So let's do on a new line .map.
Why is it not?
Because we forgot to turn to a stream. Oh crap! Find all returns an iterable. Blah. Why does it return an iterable? Which can we go to our song JDBC repository? Don't scan for it, just go to it. So we're extending CRUD repository. Can we extend list repository?
Looks like it doesn't exist.
When did they introduce that? Can you hit the right arrow key?
Right arrow key. Yeah.
Oh, because it's list CRUD repository.
Ah.
Tab, not enter.
Yep.
So let's go back to the song JDBC adapter. So for find all, what does find all return? Can you hit Control Q on the find all so we can see what it returns?
Thanks. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to get that to come up.
Okay, so that returns a list. So that's what we want. So let's now we can do a dot stream dot map.
Cool. I think I have somebody here asking me a question. Hold on a second.
All right. And I wonder if we could create our own find all that returns a stream. Should we do that?
Okay, I'm back. So you were saying to do a to list and then map?
Well, it already is a list, so we just need to do a stream.map.
Like that.
Yeah.
Whoa. Didn't like that formatting.
And what we want to map is we want to map, so we're getting song DBOs, we want to map song DBOs to whatever the method is that gives us the domain object.
I forget the syntax for that.
So it's going to be this ::. Sorry, not this. Song DBO : . Do we have a method that converts it to a song? Can you scroll down? No, we don't. I guess we don't. Let's go create one. So we've got right. So we just created the object so we can save it. We never converted it to a song. So let's do that. Let's provide a method.
Do you want to put it like after the constructor and before the getters?
Yeah.
Okay. Public returning a song.
And I usually name this to domain. So TO domain. Yeah. And then it returns a new song. Yes, splitterators are annoying. There's a way to convert iterables into streams, but it's annoying. And if we don't have to do it, we don't want to do it. You just hit tab. Yeah, let it autocomplete boilerplate.
Sweet.
All right, so now we've got.
Now we go back.
Can you insert a line out in 42.5?
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, now we can go back. Now we can use the method we just created. Yep. And since we were returning a stream already, this is all we need to do.
Oh, right. It's already is.
Yep.
But it does. Oh, the to domain returns
A
a
stream
stream
of
of songs instead of a
Mhm.
stream of song DBOs.
Right.
Got it.
Now, normally, if the conversion between the DBO and the domain object were any more complicated, I would write a test for that. But it's pretty one-to-one right now, so we can just drive it this way. So let's go ahead and run the 0 test. Actually, let's run all the JDBC song service tests.
Do it from here.
Yeah. And so we expect the sort of the 0 case to continue to work because it got nothing from the database, and it maps it, and which basically should be empty.
Right.
So new repository is 0 songs. That's fine. The malformed one we know works. The add song doesn't work because we're not adding yet, but we verify that at least we get nothing back for an empty repository. So that works. Now we can go implement for add.
Sorry,
So,
brain fell out.
we need
I was
to
reading the chat, and that's what distracted me.
we need to implement our add method at the bottom.
Oh yeah, clearly. Okay.
And so it's pretty much delegating to the. So most of what this adapter does, like many adapters, is a lot of delegation to some other thing.
we have an add.
So the repository, the JDBC repository calls this save. But it expects a song DBO. So we need to, right? So when we pull it out of the database, we convert it from DBOs to songs. We need to do the opposite.
Is there actually, I forget, song DBO, does it have a from, I guess you would call it?
It does not. We might want to create one, but for now we can just put that in the adapter.
Yeah. So for here we'll say new song DBO. I have to just extract one at a time. Oh, it wants the ID first. Oh no, the second version takes artist. So.
Right. I'm surprised the machine learning didn't kick in and say, "Oh, let's just do that," because it is a one-to-one.
Yeah, it's
mapping.
It clearly knows it because it's highlighting as the most obvious choice the correct choice.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. So now if we rerun the test.
So now our expectation is that that test should pass.
The one that checks for 1.
Yeah. So first I asked, why do we have architecture on our tags? Mainly because there are essentially 2 different kinds of tests. There are tests that are testing against the core of our code base, which is our domain and application layers, and those are what I call IO free, and they run fast. And so what I end up doing is I end up tagging tests that are slow so that I don't always run them. And then as Mike has shown here, we have different run configurations for running IO free tests. Those are all the tests that don't require external connections, infrastructure, IO, whatever you want to call it. And then there are tests that are specifically database. And if we have other dependencies on other IO, then we'd have tags for those as well. So that way, when we're doing behavioral development in our domain, we're not running a bunch of slow tests.
it makes life so much nicer, Froster, to have the fast tests and run them most of the time. So let's see, do we have a failure? So it got worse. Speaking of.
So what's happened here?
It's JDBC test. Oh. We're not clearing out the repository between tests.
Yes, and this
so actually,
is
if we
funny
run it again, the order should be randomized.
The order is pseudo-random. There's a somewhat of a predictableness, but it isn't defined. So if we run it again,
do you think there's a chance it'll pass?
I don't think so, and it doesn't matter anyway. So this is actually what Jonas was talking about earlier, and I remembered what I do is in the before each I do a delete all. Or truncate, either way. There is a way to say dirty's context and for each method, but that's actually much slower.
Okay, let's go back to the test.
And so and the reason why I forgot is I actually have a base class for sort of all of my test container ones, and it implements the before each to do that already. So I think the transactions are there, but we don't roll back. So unless we have to add them. Yeah, the dirties context I don't like, because it actually dirties your application context, which is terrible. There might be a way to do it some other way, but I'm looking at my tests to see what I do.
Are you doing it before each and clearing it out?
Let's see. What do I do? Actually, I don't. None of my tests do that. That's interesting. I guess because I generally don't do a find all, which is what we're basically doing. So what I would say is yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I'm a little bit confused now. I'm looking at this a little closer. So for each one, we're calling song repository, which for the JDBC version, each time is calling new on song JDBC adapter on the the repositories.
Right.
I don't know why it's still
right.
Okay. Never mind.
Yeah. Can you scroll up to see what the annotations are? Yeah. Yeah. So we do a database replace none so that we don't have Spring automatically start up an H2 database. There might be some other settings or
must be something.
I think we should just do it before each and just delete the database.
Okay. You want to do that at the base?
Well, it can't be in the base because we need access directly to our injected song JDBC repository. So let's add a before each method.
Do that here.
Well, you'll want to do it after 27.
True. I was just wondering if there was a. Oh, there is a before.
Well, they call it a setup method.
Oh,
because that's what
setup
it
is
used to be
basically
called. Yeah.
the old name. Ugh.
And let's rename the method to match.
Thank you.
Otherwise, that's confusing. So what I want to do is just call song JDBC repository delete all.
Okay.
Did it auto complete that for you, or did you?
It did.
Okay, so it knew what we wanted. I think
do it again slower.
I think if we want the transactions, we have to mark the test as at transactional. I wonder if we should try that first.
Up here as a. Is it a
Yeah.
separate?
Yeah. So
attribute?
basically, yeah. So SA at and then transactional. And let's comment out. Oh, you already commented out the before each. Yeah. So let's try. Let's try that. Because I think by default it doesn't actually turn on transactions per test method. It does it. Maybe not at all. I guess let's see. Nope. I guess not.
Yeah. Didn't look like it.
Yeah, so let's delete that and go back to the. I know I thought there was some way to do the transactions, but let's not worry about that. Let's just get it to work.
Okay, let her rip.
Yep. We're using Data JDBC test, Jonas, and there might be some. I have to go look at this again. There might be some. Every time I look at it, stuff changes.
Ooh, now a bunch are green.
Unsurprisingly,
yeah.
Yeah. Except, of course, the one that we haven't implemented yet, right? Because the other ones are using just the, right? So the first test doesn't work because it's using search by theme, which we have not implemented yet. And the second test is just for empty, so that of course works. Then the next test is that one works because our add works. Right, because we were saying add song and we're creating it, and so all songs should return that. Basically, because we have save and we have our add turns into save, and our all songs turns into find all. So anything that uses all songs or add song will work. So that of course works. And what's the next test? So this is bulk add. It doesn't import. And so then it doesn't all songs to retrieve them. Yep. And the malformed fails prior to anything else. So yeah, so we've got one test left, which is basically, can we find them by theme through the service?
Cool. Should we take a break?
Yeah, this is probably a good time for a break. So we'll take a break and then we'll implement the last piece of it. Then there's probably some other wiring that we need to do to get it to the application itself to use the real database. And we'll see that when we come back.
Cool.
So here's our coffee break again. All right. So Suiji mentions this, which is what I suspected, because I looked at the docs and actually transactions should be enabled. But because we're running from a subclass, the tests are actually in the base class, and I don't know how that works. We could try putting transactional on the base, even though that's generally bad because we're mixing, we're crossing the streams. We're mixing our Spring Boot framework into non-framework stuff. So let's just try that. Let's comment out the delete all in the subclass. So in the before each for this in the subclass.
Oh,
And now
you're saying put transactional.
you're
You're saying put transactional on the base class?
Yeah, let's try that, and then we'll try one other thing, and then we'll not worry about it. Yeah. So let's let's run the JDBC song service test. Because what I'm not sure is how annotations get oh, okay. Let's just be sure, comment out the transactional, run it again.
So it does feel janky having transactional in the.
Yeah, that's not a that's not a good long-term solution.
But we did learn.
But we've learned something, yes.
Yeah, so that's valuable.
And this is why I haven't run into it, because I didn't do it the subclass way. I did it the delegation way, where my my base, where I didn't have subclass. I basically had a class that had the database transactional annotations on it, and it had the injected JDBC repository, and then it just called over to the actual test implementations, passing it as a parameter, which is a little more awkward, but it doesn't run into this problem. What we could do if we wanted is inject the what is it? Inject the platform transaction manager and call a method that basically turns on transactions from within the before method.
And we're doing all this in order to not
to avoid putting to avoid putting transactional on the base class.
Well, that's for sure. But I mean, can't we do this without even and just not have transactional in the base class on the concrete class or the subclass? Just have that do delete all.
Well, but that's extra work, because we could just turn on transactions, and then that, like, this works okay because this is a single table, but it's not as reliable as transactions. Let's try that. So let's add another auto wired. All right, Jonas, have a good night.
Yeah.
Work from home tomorrow. Yeah. So let's do another auto wired below the one you have. And we're going to auto wire the platform transaction manager. That one. That. Yep. And then in the method, let's instead of let's create a before all, because we only want to turn on the transactions once. Yeah, before class. Oh, but we won't get the auto wired.
Because
All right, undo that. So let's put in the before each, let's call platform transaction manager. Or is it test transaction that we need? How do we do that? Never mind. There's other stuff we need to do that with the test transaction template and stuff like that. So let's not do that. What we can do though, instead of doing a delete all, is we can auto wire. So instead of auto wiring platform, so keep the auto wired, but replace the platform transaction manager with what is it? We want flyway. Yeah, that. And then on flyway, I believe we can call clean. Yeah. Let's try that.
Do you like double spaces after the or single?
I don't generally have double spaces.
Yeah, I don't either. But just we were there.
So let's see what happens there. So what flyway clean does is it basically asks flyway to clean. Oh, but it doesn't actually do the migrate. I think we want to do that after each. Or do we want to do that after class? No, that's not going to work. You know what? Never mind. Let's forget that. Because that's actually going to slow the test down a bit. So I think what we have is fine for now. And we'll eventually want to use the transactional. So I'll figure out a better way to do that.
So get rid of this.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Bring this back in.
Yeah, uncomment that. And let's make sure that everything passes except for our find by theme. Excellent. All right, so now this one is failing because it can't find anything because our find by theme doesn't do anything. So let's write that code. And it's very easy code because it's just connector code.
Find by theme, you mean search by theme?
Well, it's search by theme in song service, but in the adapter, it's find by theme. So we need to implement that in the adapter.
Is there a way to say?
Yeah, you can jump to implementation if you want.
Yeah, if I do that, then it'll jump over. Oh, that's the memory one.
You have to. There's this different keystroke to find implementations, which is Control Alt B.
Wonder if Control Alt Click works. Yep.
Yeah, so that shows the implementations. I always think of that as sort of going down the implementation hierarchy.
Right.
So we don't want to return a list of. We'd like to return something from the database. And then we need to do the same mapping we've done before.
Oh, I see. Right. So
you could probably extract that, and since we're doing that multiple times.
yeah, where is it? This guy?
Yeah, although it's really just one line of code. So
We could do map song DBO.
Yep. I need to do stream map because find by returns.
Oh, right.
And then we need to do a to list because that's what the caller is expecting. All right. That should pass.
Okay, running it.
Because we know that the query works because we have tests directly against that. We know the song service works. So therefore, assuming we connected things up correctly, which we did, that all works. That's it.
Cool.
So one thing you'll notice about our adapter is it doesn't do very much. It's very much transforming objects to and from the database objects and the domain, and then calling the right method on the underlying technology to do the right thing.
Do you want to turn this into a factory method?
We probably want to have that as a factory method on the song DBO.
Right.
Yes.
Nope. Did I pick?
Because you've selected the wrong stuff, so don't select anything. It'll be easier.
Yeah, that's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll move it over to song DBO.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll call it what? From domain? No. Create. Oh, it's a factory, so create song. No, create song DBO.
I think from is fine because it's transforming from a song to a method that will be obvious once it moves.
Once it's moved. Okay, so just call it from. Oh, my name is not done. There we
go. You'll want to make it static first, otherwise you won't be able to move it.
Right.
All right, Sweegie, have a good night.
See you, Sweegie. So now we can move it, and that's right.
Yep. So what does it look like on the song DBO side?
So now we can get rid of the static.
Well, no, it's a creation method. It needs to be a static.
Oh, right, it's a factory method. Yeah.
The to domain is not a static method because it's you're asking it, give me you are an object, give me the domain version of you.
Yes.
But here we're going the other way.
Right.
And this is because of the direction of dependencies that our DBO can have a dependency on our domain. Because you might think, well, why don't we just have a to DBO on our song object? Because that would be bad. Let's run all our tests. And if everything goes well, we can commit.
Sounds good.
All right, all of our tests passed. Excellent.
Cool.
Let's commit.
Sounds good. I should have left that in there. Not just pointing, but implementing.
We finished implementing the adapter, yes.
Yeah. I guess we should use the exact name, John. Song JDBC.
Sure.
Song JDBC adapter.
Right.
Okay. These afternoon ones are a little bit rougher for me. I'm definitely starting to fade.
I was gonna say, I think we're pretty much done. We can look at the um, we can look at our startup code, because right now I think we're using an in-memory repository, and we're not going to want that anymore.
This one?
Yep. Right. So there on 18, we're using an in-memory. What we want to do instead is have, so we want Spring to provide the concrete JDBC repository. And then we're going to create song service with that repository passed in. So the way we do that is as a parameter to this method, to song service, we want to reference the JDBC, our song JDBC repository. Yep. Yep. And then pass that into song service.
We're going to create a new constructor.
I'm sorry, we don't want the repository, we want our adapter. We need to create our adapter, which is the thing that this is where some of the naming gets a little confusing. So that's what we want, because Spring needs to provide that. Then we need to wrap it with our adapter first.
What does that take for parameter?
And that takes the concrete JDBC repository. Yep. And then that is the thing that implements our song repository interface. So I'd rename, before you do that, rename the parameter to be song JDBC.
Yeah, good point.
Repository. And then you can wrap that with a var. Yep.
And then that we're going to pass to song service instead of.
Yeah, if you change the declaration and not have it as song JDBC adapter, but have it as song repository, that will make it more clear. Maybe. And that's what we pass in. Because it's the adapter that implements the port, and song repository is the port, but the names are a little bit confusing here. We might want to
fix that.
Think about fixing that. But now if we run the application, it will use a real database.
To run the app, not a test.
Right.
Okay.
Did you run it?
Oh, I thought I did.
No, you just selected it.
Oh, you're right. Age-old problem.
Well, that's why I don't use that, because it doesn't run it when you select it.
Right.
The shortcut to the run configurations will actually run it, because you'll select it and it will then run it. Why does Flyway not happy?
Back to the top and then come down?
No, it's fine. Looks like the migrations got messed up. So let's let's go to your Docker desktop and we'll just delete the container and start over. Actually, we could do that from in here, although I don't know why services aren't showing up. It's so weird. Like on your IntelliJ, like tool windows are just missing. It's so odd. I don't understand why that happens. Because what I have at the bottom of my IntelliJ, one of the tools is services, which you don't have. You can go to the tools menu, services, and then Docker, and then connections from contexts. No. Which we want is Docker services, and I don't know why it's not showing up in that menu. Bring up the action search. You'll have to escape out of that.
Yep.
And look for Docker, and then in parentheses services, and that's the one we want. And if you
just want to pin
it's like once it's there, but I don't know why it doesn't show up by default.
Oh, interesting. There's no. Okay, so there's not a pin to keep it here.
No, because
it's here.
It's just here. There's a way to remove it, which I end up having to do with stuff, but yeah. So question is, why is it not showing? I don't know which one it needs to connect to. Let's go to your Docker desktop because I'm not sure you're on Windows how this works. So let's look at containers there on the left. So we've got two containers. They're both exited, but what we want to do is get rid of the container so it gets recreated.
So one?
let's trash that one. Actually, you should probably delete both of them. That's just a welcome container, and then delete the other one. Yep. All right, so now let's go run the application again. And what happened was the container was there, and so the container had old database stuff, and Flyway didn't know how to migrate because the version numbers were different. And now it's fine.
Cool. Now I've got to do the kind
right
login.
All right, let's paste some stuff in.
Okay, now this one we want to do. I guess we can do a certain number of columns, right?
As long as it's got the required ones, it'll work.
Oh, I got to do the header, don't I?
Yes.
Okay, let's go to the top. Interesting to see how this works. We haven't done this yet.
That's not the search endpoint.
Yeah, what is the search endpoint? There we go. And we just added something about radio. Yep.
All right.
That was one of them.
I think if you take off the query part, it will show the form.
The UI.
Or not.
Ooh, nope. Slash.
There's probably a different. That's probably the actual search endpoint. There's probably another endpoint. I don't know. I don't remember what it was, unless we didn't implement it. I don't remember.
I don't remember if we did or not either. Let's see. We would be able to
We can-
find that, right?
Yeah, in our templates, resource templates. So scroll down. Scroll up.
Rather there.
Resources templates. I guess we don't. We have the results page, but we don't have the search page.
Right. Right. We were just doing it via the URL and just
Yeah. So, all right, let's update Jira and then call it for a day.
sounds good.
Yep. So we did that. Did that. Yep.
Did we run them both?
Yes, we ran all of them.
Yeah. Oh, right. And all because they're
And we wired up. Yep. And so we can mark Jira 89, our epic, as being done.
Epic Jira 89.
Yep.
Cool.
So next time, so we're done with our persistence. What do we want to do next time? Have a search page?
Search page. We could do arch unit or arc unit. Let's try to pronounce that one.
I pronounce it arc unit because I figure it's the first 4 letters in architecture. We could. I mean,
we could do the search page.
I think we should focus more on features than
Yeah.
Than arc unit. I can throw in arc unit. So I think this is a new theme, right? So this should be a top level thing, right? Do we have anything for?
As persistent database? Totally.
I think
not
persistent
totally
database.
done.
Yeah,
well, there's this one, right?
It's done right now. I mean, maybe we want to pull that off, but I would close persistent database.
So you're saying pull this out as this?
Yeah, because that doesn't matter until we actually do, like it says, until we have song proposals and stuff like that.
We could move it down. Even.
Yeah. So we got our UI stuff. So we add. So those 2 are done.
No, these are.
Oh, these are individual. That's an individual.
Yeah, this is not the bulk. No.
Right. The adding songs in bulk we'd have done though.
Yeah, is that not?
That was the 122.
No, that's songs, not bulk, but well, I guess.
Oh, adding multiple rows. I don't know what that was. All right. Well, then if we don't know what it is, it's not well defined enough, so we should delete it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking it through. As the product owner, I'm going to think about that for a second. Yeah. We talked about adding a song. So is adding songs in any way different than bulk? No, I can't think of a way that it would be. So yeah, let's take it out. So then.
Yeah, I mean, unless we want some convenient way. It's like I want to add 3 songs, but I'm not copying it from the spreadsheet. I think we can discover that requirement if we need it.
Add search page to UI.
Yep.
And we were taking that one all the way up to 0 column.
That one will take us all of like 10 minutes. So maybe next time we'll start out with looking at all the way going back to our mirror board and saying, what next major feature do we want?
Right.
Because we finished song imports and database, and so now we have a real application.
Right.
You could use it. And we could deploy. Yeah, that's done. 31 is redundant.
It's not deployed, right? That's the one thing we haven't done.
Yeah, we haven't deployed it to production. If we want, we can put an entry for that. Yep. And then next time we'll so as part of that we'll need to figure out what that is.
I'm just skimming ahead to see if anything else has jumped.
I think we can drop 118 because that totally changed because we're persisting in the database. So I think you can just X that one out. All right.
Cool. Well, I think we're gonna need probably commit.
Yeah, let's commit and push. And then that'll be it.
What did we do in themes? Oh, that was that.
That was the final wiring it up to the application.
Yeah. Commit and push.
Yep.
Okay.
It's going to run all the tests before it does the push.
Right. That's the annoying part.
Well, we told it to. We could not tell it to. We could tell it to stop doing that, but
Yeah, it's
probably
that
useful.
annoying. Was there any other questions that we missed, or we kept
So
up
it
with
thinks some tests failed. Did tests actually fail?
I think it considers.
Oh, because we're now hooking it up to the application, we might actually have some test failures. Yeah. We'll figure that out next time. But do a push
Commit.
anyway.
Commit.
Commit anyway and push. Yeah, and then push.
Because we're not doing CI out to production deploy.
Right.
I don't think we are.
No.
Been so long since we.
I mean,
set this up originally.
if we were, then we'd push, and it wouldn't change production because the CI would fail.
Right.
Yeah. All right.
Cool. So part of it is figuring out what these are.
Oh, I know what that is. It's the same problem as before. It's the MVC tests are trying to bring up stuff that ends up needing a data. It has to do with the database stuff. So I'll figure that out offline. Just fix it. Cool. All right. So that's it. We finished our database. That didn't take very long, really.
Yeah. It's awesome.
It was. We'll have to figure out some of the transaction thing is kind of frustrating. I'll have to see if there's a better way to do it. Other than adding @transactional to the base class, which I think I like better just doing the delete all. I think that's fine.
Yeah, for now. I mean,
for now, yeah.
Yeah. And then are we confirmed for our next one?
I don't
see
know
it's on the calendar, but I don't know if we've.
Did we confirm? Well, the tentative for tomorrow you said was no.
Yeah, that one's a no now. I have Tuesday morning.
Right, but you said the Tuesday morning was not good.
No. A week from.
Oh, a week from tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because
then you have CSS the rest of the week. Maybe we should do the stream.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. It probably will not be this week. So
yeah. So I think it's next week when we're back.
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we will see you next time.